There we go. Add to stage. I'm getting there. Is my second one. Let's see. Do I have anybody here yet? I don't, but hey, here I am. The only thing I'm in control of is showing up for myself. So tonight I have a really exciting session planned for you. Pretty stoked. We're going to focus on sitting essentially, but improving our function of that activity. And I'll just kind of give you a quick walkthrough of what we're going to do. So one is we're going to create the joint motion needed just to reduce the stress of sitting. Okay, because sitting is a demand, it places a demand on our body. And when we sit, for instance, our hips need to be able to flex or bend in a particular way. The question is, do our hips flex well and do they flex symmetrically? That's one thing that we'll look at. I want to give you a simple movement you can do throughout the day while you're sitting, just to kind of, keep because the fundamental issue with sitting is stillness, right? The body's designed for movement, right? And so when we adapt to stillness, that's when we start to become deconditioned to our day-to-day lives. And then, so I want to give you something real simple you can do throughout the day so that you actually continue moving while sitting. Right? I'm not saying incessantly or impulsively, but just at scheduled breaks at times where you just kind of hit a little reset button. And then the third is we're going to reverse the effects of sitting and show you how to maintain core strength. Okay, because that is actually something that we lose over time. Is the reason our core becomes weak is because we lose access to the motions that stimulate the core. Okay, actually I'll show that to you later when I stand up. Our core just needs to be able to move in 3 directions, forward to back, needs to move side to side, needs to be able to rotate. And we need to have both the pelvis and the rib cage to be able to move on each other in order to create length, right? And then length is what builds strength. So a little phrase I have is core length creates core strength. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we wanna start with a few litmus tests. We just wanna see what is our starting point, so that when we do some stuff over the next 25 minutes or so, 20 minutes, we want to come back and see, was it effective? Was it a good use of our time? There is no reason for you to have to do exercises where you can't immediately retest to see if what you just did was worthwhile. You need to have that actually. That's the foundation of motivation, right? So if we're heading in a direction, we need to know where we are. Right? We need to know what we want, but then ultimately we need a way to measure if we're actually making progress in a direction that's important to us. It's also actually our source of meaning. Okay, back on track. We're going to go now to a few litmus tests. So the first is, since we're going to be focused on sitting, let's just practice we'll sit down and stand up 5 times, and we just want to see what's the quality of that movement. All right, that'll be one of our litmus tests. So I'll bring my chair back. Let me just see and get those lights. Oh, okay, that's a little better. Okay. All right, so whatever the chair is that you're going to be using, I just want you to sit into it and then stand up 5 times. You just want to get a sense of what's the quality of the movement. How easy or difficult is that for you? And so just pay attention to kind of how your body makes its way down to the chair. Typically, somebody who's real stiff will have to bend forward excessively in order to reach the chair. It's not bad to do that either. I'm just saying, like, that's one compensation pattern I usually see. I'm not saying you should be standing straight up while you sit. You can do that, but that's not necessary. Okay, so that's one litmus test. The second is we want to get a sense of our posture, right? So one of the things that happens when we sit is that we go into a flexed position. So our shoulders round, our pelvis tilts forward. We have these patterns that we start to notice. We feel like we have that forward head posture. That's called an adaptation. So when you sit, your body's going to start to take on the shape of sitting. Okay, so we need, and we can detect that in our posture. All right, so we're just going to do really simple. I'm going to give you just one thing to focus on, right? Just the position of your shoulders. It's not a full evaluation, but it's just something to observe. We could do something and then come back at the end to see if it worked. Okay, so Just want you to get your feet about hip width apart, arms nice and relaxed, just hanging at your side, eyes closed. And I want you to pay attention. Do you feel your shoulders rounded, neutral, or chest out? Even though I'm very active, and even though I was very active today, I still feel shoulders rounded because for about the last 4 hours, I was in a chair. Okay, so we want to just take a deep breath to imprint the posture. And we can come back at the end and recheck. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have the motion needed at our hips in order to be able to sit without getting stiff or sore in our back. And I'll just share with you one thing that I see that's usually a problem for people. All right, so they'll say, you know, when I'm sitting for a little bit and I go to stand up, oh man, my back is just like really, it's killing me. Okay, and so this isn't always the reason, but this is a common reason why I've seen people suffer unnecessarily lower back pain when they sit for extended periods. It's often because their hips don't flex to the same degree. Okay, so you're going to need something to hold on to because this is going to be interactive. Okay, so I'm going to start by placing my right foot 1 foot length ahead of my left, right? My feet are about hip width apart, right? Just so you have a sense of that. I'll show this to you from a couple different angles. But what I want you to do is you stay facing me. Place your hands on something steady. Now, I am not leading by example here. You know, I have something that's actually rather unstable, but ideally this would be like, and I have a rotating chair here, so that's not helpful. Like if my chair were like more accessible, like holding onto something that doesn't move at all is the optimal thing to have. Again, I am not leading by example, but what we want to do here is you want to think about sitting onto your back heel. Okay, so the left foot should be in the back. You're just going to sit back as if your heel is a chair, and you just want to see, where do you naturally get? How far do you naturally go down? Now, for me, it doesn't look like I'm going real far, but this is where my body starts to resist the movement. Okay, this is called my threshold. I can't go. I can try to go past this point, but I will compensate, and there will be consequences. Okay, so this is right about where my body starts to resist the sitting back into my heel. One way I like to think about it is like it's the body putting the brakes on, and there's a reason why it does that, and I'll tell you in just a moment. Now we want to just go with the left foot ahead of the right, and now we're going to sit back into the right heel. Okay, and one thing that you may notice with me is that I can actually sit deeper on my right than I can on my left. Okay, now what that means in the context of sitting, right? Now we already saw just the depth of the chair that I have to get to, right? I actually don't have that depth on either side. So just the act of sitting is inherently stressful to me, okay? But that's also why I have to bend forward a bit in order to reach the chair. Okay, but I get to the chair, now I'm here, but what we know is that my right hip flexes better than my left. Okay, so this side bends, right? So this side bends better than this side. I don't have as much of a lift here. We just saw that when I was doing the movement over here. So now you could think of it like this. My hips are kind of like this. All right. Now, of course, my low back has to go for the ride. So I know not everybody has a pelvis handy, but I do. So when I'm sitting, all right, so just imagine that, you know, say this is my right side. Okay. Actually, if you're looking at me, this would be your left. Okay. So my right side has more ability to flex. So as I go to sit down, I have more ability to sit down through that right side. Okay, so what's going to happen is both hips are going to have to bend, but one bends more. So then the pelvis ends up rotating more, ends up going through this bend, right? And it's very stressful to your low back. So I want to show you how to start improving that so that sitting just in and of itself as an activity is not as stressful to your body. So what we're going to do here is I'll just give you this other angle. Okay, we're going to start with our right foot ahead of our left. We're going to sit back on the heel 5 times. So we're going to go, ready, nice and easy, 5. Close your eyes now. 4, and I want you to feel how far do you naturally get sitting back into that left heel. Feel it. Don't force it. Just notice where you naturally go. Okay. Now switch it over. Of course, you're only going eyes closed if you're holding on to something. Sit back in the heel. And I feel that I have more natural range. I have more access to this hip. Okay, I want you to remember this because this is the litmus test that we're going to perform at the end to see if this was helpful. Okay. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to keep flipping back and forth the angle so you can see how to join me best. We're going to start with the right foot ahead of left. Okay. And what I want you to do is you're going to sit back 3 times. On the third one, you're just going to sit, okay, in the heel. So we're going to go 3, 2, 1 more. Just find your threshold right there. Okay. Now from this position, I just want you to sit a little extra pressure right through the heel. Okay. That's called grounding. We want to create stability. Stability as I sit through the heel. Now I'm creating stability for my hip. All right. Now I can move from this position. So ready? I'm just going to go to where you are. Sit back in that heel. Sitting good, heavy pressure down through the heel. And now look over your right shoulder. Look over your left shoulder. I don't need you to try to force the range looking. Just go nice and easy and find the edge in each direction. Right? How far you naturally go. And that's for 5. I'm going to give that a little break. I'm going to switch that over now. Okay, so I'll give you another angle. So left foot's ahead of the right. 3 repetitions. Sit back into the heel. Find your depth threshold, the natural depth that you lower to without forcing it. Hang right there. Sit some extra heavy pressure into the heel to create good stability through the right ankle, knee, and hip. And then we're going to rotate. 1, 1. Now, when you look over your shoulder, let everything move with you. Okay. Don't try to limit anything. Let your whole body turn in one direction. Let your whole body turn in the other. But just make sure that you keep very heavy pressure through the heel. You could think of that like an anchor. Okay. That creates the support, the stability that we need so that the mobility can return. Okay. If we lost range, if you have a range of motion discrepancy, left versus right. Okay. So like I showed you here, with my right, I can sit further back than I can on my left. All right. Now, the reason that I've lost mobility is because I fundamentally lost what supports mobility, which is stability. Okay. I lost the stability at the joint and now it's revealed through the mobility. So the goal to restoring the mobility is to create the stability necessary for the mobility to return. Sorry, I don't know if I was supposed to do that right in the middle of this routine, but let's keep going. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the right lead. Okay, we're going to sit back just naturally into that left heel. 2, we're going to go 1 more time here. 3 and hold, okay? Keep nice, heavy pressure through the heel. Create the stability, okay? You're sitting nice and heavy. You're not forcing. Just hold that position. Now look, let your head fall to the left as your hips counterbalance by sliding to the right. And then let your head fall to the right as your hips slide to the left, okay? So just nice and easy. I'll tell you what, this is not, since that's a little shaky, let me just change locations here. It's really important that you're stable with these movements. So you notice I widened my base of my feet. My feet are wider, my hands are wider. The more stability I have, the more mobility I can retrieve or restore or recover. Okay, this is how you recover lost ranges of motion. Just like that. Okay, so now I'm going to give that a break. And now I'm going to place my left foot ahead of my right, but I'm also going to add some width to it. Okay, so my left foot is still 1 foot length ahead of my right, but now it's just on the wider side. So I want to sit back into that heel. 3, 2, 1, hold. Okay, so now ready? We're going to bend to the left, bend to the right. So we go 1, 1. We're just moving to our edge in each direction as we keep nice, heavy pressure in the heel. You could think of that as like, that's kind of the guardrails of the movement, is the pressure, because it's not letting me go into a range that I can't control. All right, we're going to take a break there. And now we want to go into the last plane of motion. So we're going to go back to the right foot ahead of the left 3 times. So we're going to go 1, 2. I mean, I can already feel that I'm getting deeper into this, which is cool. All right, and now from here, what I want to do is I want to tuck my chin and then lift my chin. So 1, 2, 3. I'm not forcing the movement in either direction. And 5. All right. And I forgot to mention, but hopefully you remembered, was keep the pressure in the heel. Okay, so now we have the left foot ahead of the right. We're going to sit back into that right heel for 3, 2, 1. We hold. Okay, now from here, I'm going to tuck my chin and then lift. So tuck. As I tuck, I feel myself sit naturally heavier into the heel, but I stay heavy in the heel even when I'm lifting my chin. In fact, when I lift my chin, I'm lifting it away from my heel. And then back. Okay. So what we did was we assessed our hips side by side to see if they flexed to a similar degree. For me, my left hip didn't bend as well. I didn't have as much mobility because I don't have as much control in that area for whatever reason. We don't even need to know why exactly. We just need to understand the mechanism for how to restore and recover the function. So now what we're going to do is we want to go back through a series of litmus tests to see if this was helpful or not. Because again, if we have a quick feedback loop and we understand that what we're doing is productive and constructive, then we're going to want to keep doing it. Our motivation is going to remain high. But what happens many times, you could think of it like the classic example of, somebody who has their diet and exercise on point, right? They're trying to lose some weight and they kind of vow that they're only going to measure or weigh themselves once a week. All right. So they're going to work as hard as they can for 7 days and then they're going to measure themselves. The problem is a very long feedback loop, right? And so you really don't get the ultimate validation for whether or not your diet and exercise plan was successful. You're only getting feedback on that once a week. We're not wired for that. We like certainty. We like predictability. And that's why we build this in, because it's part of human nature. We just want to know, did the thing that I just do, was it helpful? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go back into the right foot ahead of left. I'm going to have you sit back into the heel for 5 repetitions. I would like you to do it eyes closed and just feel. When you sit back into that heel, do you feel like your capacity has expanded? Do you sit deeper naturally? Okay, so ready? Eyes closed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Not only am I going deeper, but I have way better control throughout the entire range. And I will say it's not always about increasing the range right away, because that's not always realistic. Again, we need to create the stability, the control first, and that's going to happen when we invest a lot of time under tension. So it's the repetition and the time under tension is what transforms our structure and our function. So now we're going to go with the left foot ahead of the right. All right, eyes closed. We're going to sit back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so I got an improvement there as well. Let's see. Live viewer comment show. This is an example. Okay, I think that was just an automated message. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the posture. Okay, so let's just go with our feet in this neutral position, eyes closed. And I definitely went from more of a shoulders rounded to more of a chest out feeling. It feels like the top center of my chest is just sticking up and out. I'm not trying to do it. It's just the result of the movements that we just did. Okay, because when we free these imbalances in our body, as we expand the capacity of joints that lose motion, it's going to add back to our entire posture. And so I got immediate feedback in 2 ways now. One is the retest, and then 2 was the posture. So with the squat and then the posture. Okay, so now let's just check and see the quality and comfort of sitting. Okay. I mean, so listen, it feels like an easier task. I have more control sitting down. I'm getting up with more precision, and there's like a little more of a oomph to the movement. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. You're not going to see a change necessarily every single time. The most important is that you continue participating, but you do need a short feedback loop so that you know, again, if what you're doing is worthwhile. So now what I want to do, unless anybody has any questions, just please shoot a comment. Okay, so what we're going to do next is I want to give you something really simple you can do while you're sitting. All right, it's very simple. I'm going to show you how to move your rib cage in a particular way, and we're going to use the driver of breathing, right? An authentic driver that we can use to expand our capacity. Okay, so again, we're going to need a basic litmus test. All right, so I'm just going to place your hands on your ribs. All right, and what I want you to do is I want you to pull. I want you to pull your left. You're going to place your hand on your ribs just beneath your chest. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pull your left hand back. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's do the other side. Ready? Pull back on your right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're going to go both, and I want you to alternate sides. So you're going to pull back on the left and then back on the right. Go to eyes closed now, and just feel. Does one shoulder and rib cage feel like it turns more naturally? You pull back more naturally on one side compared to the other. Okay, so for me, I feel it when I pull back on my right, which to you is going to look like your left. I feel, you can look at my back shoulder, look how much it moves behind me. Okay, that's not forceful. And then when I go the other side, you can still see my entire shoulder, which here, I get almost to that neutral position. So there's a huge discrepancy. And so we need to understand that first, because so long as we have imbalances like that, such capacity differences, we're never going to get out of painful patterns, like ever. All right. We need to resolve the imbalances. Okay. So one way to think about it is one side has higher capacity than the other side. Okay. So let's focus. And I'm assuming you will also have an imbalance. If you're not sure, again, just keep your eyes closed. That's going to enhance your self-awareness. But then what you're going to do now is you're going to go on your better side. Okay. So whatever side moved better for you, I want you to place your hand on that rib. You're going to pull back. All right. And now I'm also going to have you look in that same direction. Okay, now I want you to just look just to your thresholds. You're not forcing this at all. You feel no discomfort holding this position, but you should be at the edge of what you can and cannot do. All right, now from here, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. Okay. And now I'm going to go to the other side. Hand's going to go under the chest. I'm going to pull back 3, 2, 1. Let the eyes move in the same direction. Go just to the threshold. I just went a little too far. I felt a little bit of like a pinch in the back of my neck here, so I just backed off a little bit. Okay, so you get that shoulder back first. Let the eyes follow right there. Okay, that's my threshold. Now from here, breath. Stay at the edge of what you can and cannot do. That's how we expand capacity. Now, since this is my limited side, I'm just going to go in a couple extra breaths here. Okay, so I just wanted to do that so that I could show you, the type of feedback loop that we can create. So this was my better side, And what's kind of cool now is you can see I'm taking my better side, which almost like this shoulder was behind me. You can see I'm not going as far as I did. And the ideal reaction is that you actually lose a little motion going on the side that had more motion, and you gain a little motion on the side that had less motion. And that is the optimal reaction, because it's not about making one side like the other side. It's about bringing them into balance, right? And then so when we have a natural, if we have an equal amount of stability or control in both directions, we're going to have maximal mobility, opportunity, expansion of capacity. Okay, so and now, so you saw that this lessened a little bit, right? Now I'm going to go on my other side. And so, yeah, you can just see, like, you know, this shoulder's actually now coming back. Before, you were kind of seeing the full shoulder still without forcing it. This is my new range. Now, just so you know, if you have an imbalance like this, what I want you to do is just go and find that, right? Find that. Easy, easy. Don't, I'm telling you, less is more. Don't force any of this, right? Go right to the edge of what you can and can't do. You look over the shoulder, just like that. Breath. And I want you to keep going until you start to notice some positive turn, like positive motion in the direction of limitation. Not forcefully, going to the edge, breathing. So step number one, let's reduce the imbalance. The imbalances are what are most stressful on our body, okay? So, you know, now I can just kind of get the arms going, just nice and easy, you know, just kind of use the range a little bit. I'm still in my chair, right? I didn't even have to get up. And what's cool is when you do this from a seated position, you fixed your pelvis and your arms get your rib cage to turn more. And as your rib cage moves, it stimulates all the muscles in and around your core. Okay. Now, so that's the one way. And then we're just going to go, ready? We're just going to go in 3 ways. So we just do like a little bit of a lift. And you can see I naturally lift a little higher on my left, which looks like your right. That just feels natural for me. Okay. But just go nice and easy. And then in our community, we show our members how to balance the imbalances or correct the imbalances, the areas of low capacity. We show them how to expand their capacity in all joints, in all planes. And if you don't do that, you're going to have a very difficult time making a long-term recovery where you're not susceptible to just falling back into old patterns. You know, the number one reason why people get re-injured is because the motion that they lost, the capacity that they lost somewhere in their body, is forcing the other part of your body that's in pain to do more work than it's designed to do. And so we just put way too much focus in trying to get out of pain when the primary focus needs to be on restoring the capacity of low capacity joints in the body. Okay, so if something doesn't move well, like my left shoulder did not pull back well, but I just improved it, right? So I expanded the capacity on that side. That's what creates the opportunity for healing. Okay, so let's just take our arms now, ready, just nice and easy. We're going to drive the elbows up and back, and we just reach the hands back. So it's elbows and then hands. Please don't feel like you need to go through the range of motion that I am. I'm just going through the range that feels comfortable and that I have access to. Like, I can't go any far. I mean, can I push further? I can push further, but my body is very clearly telling me that this is about where it would like to go without having to be forced. Okay, so that's the eyes closed, right? You can feel when the body says, okay, we're nearing the edge. Again, just get to the edge of what you can and you cannot do. As long as you're functioning at that point, you're just going to continue expanding what your body's capable of doing. All right, so that's something that I would do throughout the day. All right, so if you have an imbalance, first find it and balance it out. Go to that limited side maybe 3 times throughout the day. Not every single day. I'm just saying, once as an experiment, just try it a few times. Pull back on that low capacity side, do the quick assessment, see which side you have a limitation to. Go to that limited side, to the edge of what you're capable of doing. Look in the same direction. Breathe. Breathe until you expand capacity in that direction without being forceful. And you do that by working to the edge of your capacity and not beyond it even a little, just to the edge. We have to become obsessed with finding the edge. That's how we expand our physical capacity. So, and then, let's just say you do that, right? Then you just go through this little arm swing. So this is the move, right? When I do this standing, I call it the spine matrix, by the way. Okay, so we just get a lot of good spinal motion. And it's just a good way to maybe you don't want to balance things out. You don't have the energy to do that technique at the time in your day. Just get the arms moving a little bit, nice and easy. Just get them swinging. We just want to keep the body moving. All right, next. It's nice and easy. It's like a little windmill here, or a seesaw, right? As one lowers down, the other lifts up. Nice and easy. Okay, and then the last one, elbows, fingers. And if you went through, for instance, this little routine like 3 times in a row, you'll notice by the time you get to the third round, all of those motions have likely expanded a little bit. Okay, and then you'll just notice, if you do enough repetition and as you develop skill with the movement and you know how to swing your arms well, you will notice that you're sitting in an upright, tall posture without trying to. Okay, you're not forcing it. So that's 2 things down. And now the third thing that we're going to do is we need a strategy now to reverse the effects of sitting. Okay, so first we got you better at getting into the seated position, and then give you something to do throughout the day to move so that your body doesn't stiffen. Right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go to reversing the effects of sitting. All right. Again, not comprehensive, but just a little bite here of something that I found pretty helpful that I think might be helpful to you too. So get something more stable than I have. All right. So the first thing we want to do here is we're going to get into a stride stance. Now, you want your front foot flat on the ground. Okay. You'll notice I'm on my left ball of foot. Okay, so the ball of the foot is that part of the foot just behind the toes. All right, and so you're going to go on the ball of the foot. And then what you want to do is you're just going to take your back knee and you're just going to let it lower down and just start to see, like, for me, my body starts to resist that movement right there. Okay, so listen, watch. I can go all the way down. All right, so this isn't a test to see how strong you are. Okay, we're more interested in how we're getting there. Do we have the proper motion coming from the proper joints in order to create the proper reaction? So we have the stability and the control to do things productively without getting hurt. So I'm just lowering down. If I were to close my eyes, I just start to feel some hesitation. It's like my body's just putting the brakes on. Okay, so that's my capacity on my left. And now we're going to go to the other side. We have to establish these litmus tests first, right? Okay, and then same thing, front foot flat, ball of the foot, knee. Okay, so just like before, okay, remember when I sat back into my heel, I was able to sit farther. Well, on this side, I can also lower my knee down further. Okay, so clearly have better capacity, at least through my hip, on my right side compared to my left. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get back into that stride stance. For simplicity, let's just go right lead followed by left. So we're basically focusing on the left side first. We're going to lower that knee down. So we're going to go for 3, 2, hold. Okay, now look, you're going to look, literally look. Just like this, okay? Find the edge. I was going a little fast. I just slowed down a little bit. When you look in one direction, feel your whole body move in that direction. Now, it's going to feel most likely far more difficult for you to look toward the side of the leg that's behind you, okay? So for me, my left leg is back. It's harder for me to look to my left than it is to the right. That's because it's asking the hip for a motion that it's going to lose through either repetitive stresses, injuries, sitting a lot. And that motion is called internal rotation. So when I'm here and I'm rotating this way, this hip is turning inward, all right? And it doesn't have the motion. And so that's usually the reason why it's hard to look over that side. Also, well, it doesn't matter. You also have less stability on that side, but that's besides the point. But that is another reason that you wouldn't go as far in that direction. Right? So let's just find our threshold, go a few reps. All right, right there. And now I'm going to look and look. So interestingly, I kind of feel the opposite of what I felt on the other side. I can go deeper, but I have a harder time actually looking away from the back leg compared to the other side. And then it's a little easier for me to look back toward the back leg, which was the opposite on the other side. And again, we just need to move to our edge without being forceful. All right, and then it's just about getting in the repetitions. We move to the edge, move to the edge, move to the edge, and then the edge expands. Okay, it's predictable. It's just adaptation. These are very basic principles. Okay, so now let's just go into another plane. So we're going to go back to the right foot ahead. And we're going to go left foot pointed straight. Remember, the front foot is flat. Going to lower down for 3, 2, 1. Okay, now from here, I'm going to let my head fall to the left as my hips slide to the right. My head slide to the right as my hips fall to the left. So you could just look at, think of your head and your hips as a counterbalance. As one goes one way, the other goes the other way to support the movement, right? It's the whole body working together. All right, that feels good. And now we're going to go back to the other, switch over to the other lead. Okay, find your threshold for 3, 2, 1. Okay, so ready? I'm going to bend left, right. I sprained my right ankle a few times. I really feel as I bend to my right, I can feel my big toe on my right foot limited. So I'm not going to push. I'm just right there is where it actually starts to limit me. So you're going to notice I'm not going real far to my right, but I'm just not going to force it. So it's not a trade-off I'm willing to make. So now what I want to do is let's go back once more. Right foot ahead of left. Find that threshold, 3, 2. Okay, 1 hold. Now we're going to flex and then extend. You know, I just realized I didn't even tell you why we're doing this necessarily. I mean, I said at the beginning that we're reversing the effects of sitting. Okay, there's 5 right now. By the way, when I lift it, I'm only lifting to the degree, so where I feel the resistance is all through my groin here, right? This whole part of my body is just saying, don't go any further. And then that's evident by when my chin stops naturally lifting, right? So that's the point I get to. Then I return, I round my back, and then I extend, I lift, right? But the reason that this reverses the effects of sitting is when you're sitting, you're in a flexed position. Your hip is flexed, right? It's bent, right? So when we're here, now we go, and now the hip is extended. It's in the exact opposite position. And then we're using 3-dimensional drivers to expand what that joint's capable of doing. All right, so now we're going to go on the other side. Okay, we're going to lower down, 3, 2. Okay, tuck your chin. Ooh, this is very hard for me to tuck. And lift. So again, interesting, right? I could go lower on this side, but the lower and the lift feels more limited on this side, like considerably. Okay, now off camera, off film, I just be getting in a lot more repetition, right? It's just about investing the time under tension. That's what creates the stability that allows the mobility to restore. The only thing I didn't mention, which is probably the most important thing, and I just want to be like very real and human here, is as you do this movement, it is helpful I was doing it, but I didn't think about it, just pushing down through the back ball of foot. Okay, so remember here we had pressure sitting into the heel, right? When we go here and we kneel down, we want to have pressure going into the back ball of foot. That creates the stability. So when you do these movements with your head in 3 directions, you're actually creating an anchor. You have a point of stability because it's creating tension. And then you have, the tension needed for the chin to be able to move away maximally from the anchor in all 3 planes, which will reduce stress on the body. Okay, so now let's just go back and let's do a quick recheck. Okay, so if you'd like, go eyes closed. If you want to start eyes open, that's fine. Okay, my left side, definitely better. I mean, pretty night and day, actually. Okay, this was my side. I was more limited on this side. I mean, before it was kind of like almost right away that I felt it. So I just went from what felt like a very initial range at first. So now I'm probably in more of like a mid-range. This is my mid-range of motion, okay? Yeah, I do want to get to my end range, but I don't want to try to force it either. Right now, that'll just happen again with time under tension and repetition. So this also expanded. So I went from what was probably already my mid-range. I'm going certainly into my end range now, okay? So I had a capacity expansion on both sides. I'm very happy with that. I will typically invest more time on the side that feels limited. So obviously notice, like for instance, on the lunge, going down on that left side was challenging. I just get in a little more repetition to create the environment that my body needs, the stability that it needs. We achieve the stability through the grounding. Okay? The grounding produces tension, and then tension stabilizes the joint so the joint can move. Okay, so like if you had like a little dance routine, and I saw like, let's say you're really expressive, you've been practicing a lot, and then I just put you on ice and I ask you to perform the same routine, it doesn't look the same, right? Why? The environment changed. You don't have the stability you need to move, to have the mobility upstairs to, do your routine. So this is about it's like an invisible force, stability, right? You can't see it. We can see mobility with our eyes. Like I can see myself lower and lift, but one thing that's really helpful for you is when you reach the range of motion that starts to feel limited, what that means is that your brain no longer knows how to control the motion beyond that point for whatever reason. We don't know, okay? But we do know that there's a mechanism that we can rely on to expand our capacity, and that just comes through grounding, right? So just sitting into the point that that we need to establish the anchor. As we have good stability, we have now created the environment for the mobility to return and become restored. So I just keep repeating these messages because this is the key idea. These are the things you have to know in order to move better so that you can feel better. That's where I'll kind of just wrap up here is, a lot of times, our current approach to pain management in general is we're very focused on trying to get parts of our body to feel better, like your back or your shoulder. But, the reality is if a part of your body is hurting, it's a whole body problem. Like you can't separate a shoulder limitation from the rest of the body. Of course, it's going to affect everything. So at Expanding Capacity, what we do is we take a whole body approach. We actually do what's called a global, local, global approach. We start with a big movement, squatting, walking, lunging, sitting, standing. They could be positions too, side lying, stepping, reaching, breathing, looking. These are all global movement patterns. And then we dive into local joint complexes related to those movement patterns. Okay, so the 6 most important are we dive into the feet, the hips, the spine. Now the spine we actually address as like 2 parts, even though it's only one spine. We do show you how to specifically mobilize your thoracic spine, also your cervical spine, so your mid back and your neck. And then we do your shoulders and your hands. So those are the 6 key areas that we show our members how to expand the capacity of within every single movement pattern, we need to have a specific capacity available at each of those joints with all movements. Okay, so we need a lot of variety of movement in order to really expand our functional capacity. So I could keep going, but this feels like maybe a good place to stop. I still don't have any viewers. That's cool. I don't care. I had fun. All right, I enjoyed this. So, but if you were here, thank you for joining me. Come check us out, school.com/expanding capacity. Obviously on the screen, you have the QR code there. So if you want to come check us out, come check us out. And so the last thing I'll say is we have a little tagline, right? We do zero stretching. We do immediate results, right? We were able to immediately tell whether or not these movements were working. With all of them, we got immediate results. So zero stretching, there's no stretching. Immediate results, right? And mobility that sticks. And the reason the mobility sticks is because we have the stability. That's why we're so focused on the grounding, creating the stability so that the mobility can stick, right? So we need to be in a controlled environment. We want to restore not just range of motion, we want to restore controlled ranges of motion. Really important. Okay, so thank you so much for your time, your attention, and I hope you make it a wonderful day. And I hope this was helpful. All right, cheers.